Hello, this is nelsonr12 speaking, and for the third time now, my Rollercoaster Tycoon 3 software has run into a bit of a snag. This time, the current computer is operating on the blue screen of death. Again. So, now with no more Rollercoaster Tycoon 3, again, I again have to find a new set of videos that people seem to enjoy. Again. I recently announced that I would be doing a series of Let's Plays with Ruben's Web, which we're still working on Sonic Heroes 1, that we're going to do Call of Duty 2, or Portal, whichever one we decide on. But I'm going to do something I wanted to do for a while now. Commentaries.
I was watching my TV one night when they broke in with a special report.
Computers, game consoles, even cell phones with internet access. What more could you ask for?
Maybe for you to use your real voice instead of Microsoft Sam.
Technology has become very fascinating today. Chatting with friends online is easy as pie. Cellular phones have many built-in devices like a camera, and the list goes on.
What a detailed list of some of the features of today's smartphones.
Now think to yourself, if the electronic devices today are wonderful to have, what if they couldn't do stuff like properly play old-school video games?
The thing is that they can properly play old-school video games. Because later in the video it's going to say that they can't, even though they can. As a matter of fact, I have Sega Genesis, Sega CD, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, NES, Sega Dreamcast, and Xbox 360 currently hooked up to my TV.
Well, those days have come to life. This entire thing can be summed up into two words: compatibility issues. Not all machines and devices are like that though. The two biggest suspects on new technology today are computers and televisions. Of course, the new upgrades are nice, but the fact of the matter is that if you wanted to, let's say, play a game released in the 90s, it won't work properly. For instance, in order for a copy of Guptill89 Adventure for the PC to fully work, you will need a machine that runs Windows 95.
You do know that the game's also compatible with Windows 98, right?
The same deal also goes for Macintoshes. Wolfenstein 3D can't play on a Power Mac G5 because it doesn't have a floppy disk drive.
That's because floppy disks are considered insufficient because of the development of CDs. Floppy disks are not as efficient and can't hold as much space as a CD.
Instead, I have to resort to trying it out on my G3 machine. Heck, I even have to step backward further and use a 68040 based Macintosh to properly play a copy of Journeyman Project 2, Buried in Time. Even if you had a CD-ROM version of Wolfenstein 3D, it still wouldn't play properly, let alone not at all, because the highest operating systems do not allow it to happen.
You know, if you're desperate enough to want to be able to play Wolfenstein 3D, the PC version, on a PC, what you could do is you can, emulator. That's something that an older OS won't allow you to do. Emulator. So you should take that into consideration.
I'm also aware that Windows computers have the DOSBox application to allow programs meant for older operating systems to function the right way. But just like before, they don't function the right way fully.
How exactly did you get 80%? How exactly did you figure out the function that was at 80? Where did you get that number? I'd like to know.
To make more sense out of this, I was watching a video by Eric the Destroyer titled, Let's Play Guptill89 Adventure. Borrowing a quote, he said, There's no sound effects because this game was made for Windows 95, and basically, if I tried to put on sound effects, the game would lock up and then I couldn't play it.
Was this such a big deal that you had to put it in your video?
Game consoles are also guilty of the same thing.
Yeah, Sega Genesis is not the best example to use there. And most consoles nowadays have backwards compatibility, like the PS2.
I was playing Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation one day on my Model 1 PS2, which I don't have anymore, and I got to the part where the player is prompted to swap disc 1 for disc 2.
And let me guess, you dropped the disc and you were too lazy to pick it up. Yep, that sounds like you.
After doing so, nothing happened. I tried pressing the buttons and tweaking the analog sticks, and still nothing happened. The game was frozen. Just like older operating systems on computers, the original Metal Gear Solid can only be completed on a PlayStation 1.
Have you ever taken into consideration that it was not the fault of the PS2? You know, maybe your Metal Gear Solid disc is scratched. Maybe there's a crack in it. You gotta jump in a conclusion saying it's the PS2 and not say the fault of the disc.
Video games aren't the only problem with new stuff today. There are a few more things, frequently done, that also have big flaws.
Oh my god, there are other things that have flaws! Oh god, I'm thinking out here, I'm thinking out, help me out!
This is where the prime example comes in, the high-definition televisions.
Oh, I can't wait to hear what he has to say about HD TVs.
The only things these LCD screens are useful for are sharp high-resolution channels and gaming systems like the Xbox 360. Take a look at what a regular channel looks like on a cathode ray tube TV. As you can see, it looks great.
No, it looks like shit, because you're pointing the camera at the screen.
On an LCD TV, however, the resolution is much lower.
Really? Because it looks the same to me.
That's a big problem for my family because my stepdad wears glasses and he watches the NECN news, which doesn't have a high-definition channel. There's also other regular channels that we sometimes watch, and they don't have HD versions.
Well, you do know that HD TVs is for the sole purpose of watching HD channels, HD movies, and HD video game consoles. Any other thing, it doesn't look as good.
Low resolution is also a problem for game systems other than the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and Nintendo Wii. Even a DVD player and other old devices.
I wouldn't exactly call a DVD player a quote-unquote old device.
To plug into the TV result in having low texture quality.
That's, your example is an old NES game.
Simply put, if you wanted to have an easier time viewing objects and backgrounds, you will need a ray tube television. Unless
you're watching an HD channel, in which case you will need an HD TV.
LCD screens are also problematic due to the fact that the lighting changes at a different angle.
Is that really an issue?
Check out these ray tube monitor pictures for a little bit. As you can tell, the lighting does not look different at any given angle. Now check out these shots of an LCD monitor. Just like I said before, there are changes in the lighting all the time on these types of monitors.
Only the low-angle shot actually looks different. And besides, why would you look at a screen, LCD or not, from any angle besides straight in front of it? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you do something like that?
I'm mentioning this because if multiple people are looking at it from a different angle, they won't be able to see what the image really looks like unless they got right in front of it.
Again, it looks exactly the same from both angles.
But what if they couldn't? That's not all though. HD televisions have the stupidest button layout on the TV itself.
You're actually taking the time and effort to complain about a button layout?
Instead of having the controls perfectly placed on the front, They are either 1. On the left or right side, 2. On the underside, or 3. Underneath the panel. I don't know what convinced the companies that made those televisions to do such a thing.
Maybe it's because they didn't think it was that big of a deal. Because it isn't.
If the batteries in your remote die and you don't have any replacements, you need to either turn the TV clockwise or counterclockwise, then push the buttons.
You don't have to turn the TV. You can just click the side of the TV.
Reach underneath the TV and push the buttons. Or search for a small niche that blends in with the black border, open it, and finally operate the controls. What a pain.
Not really a pain, more like a minor inconvenience.
There isn't even a headphone input on some of these.
There isn't a headphone input on some RayTube TVs either.
Not to mention that if you were playing an NES Zapper game like Duck Hunt, light detection becomes almost non-existent. Even a Super Nintendo Super Scope does not work. Borrowing a piece from James Rolfe's NES Accessories script, he said, "Even if I point the gun in the same spot, the bullets just scatter all over the place, all because I'm using a flat-screen TV." If you thought that resolution, button placement, and compatibility weren't enough, think again.
No, I'm just thinking that they're not really problems to begin with.
On Operating System 10 for the Macintosh, the text-to-speech voices, like the one you're listening to right now, have sloppier speech than the ones you hear on Operating System 8.6 or below.
You are listening to Junior on macOS 10. My favorite food is pizza.
Did you notice any differences in terms of being fluent? If not, I'll compare the 8.6 version with the 10 version side by side using the sentences played before.
You are listening to Junior on macOS 8.6. You are listening to Junior on macOS 10. My favorite food is pizza. My favorite food is pizza.
If you think that both Juniors sound exactly the same,
Then you be right and you get a cookie.
you are sadly mistaken. macOS 8.6 Junior is more fluent than the other.
Even if that is true, macOS 10 sounds more sharp and clear than the other one.
I have a message to the electronic companies. As cool as flat-screen monitors and televisions are, I'm afraid to say that they are inferior to cathode ray tube televisions and monitors.
Because this is the expert you would trust for opinion, a 28-year-old who fantasizes over prepubescent Sonic girls and complains about button layouts and curse words.
I would really appreciate it if you would go back to selling the superior kind. I also hope that the next operating systems, like Windows 7, are fully compatible with the previous stuff. The same also goes for game consoles yet to come. And here's a message to Apple. Please fix the text-to-speech voices to make them sound the way they were back in 1999.
Yeah, I actually think that that's not on the top of their priority list right now.
I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Please help pave the way to a better future. Bon voyage.
Why does this always happen? Why does this always happen to me? Why does this always happen? Why does this always happen to me? Ba 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 ba.
Alright, that was Wrant-aWreck episode 3. You know, Guptill, in the long run, a lot of things you complain about are things that aren't worth complaining about. You rant about people who make yo mama jokes, people swearing on the internet, button layouts on TVs. I mean, seriously? I'm nelsonr12. Thanks for watching.